again, and welcome to another Bojanian vlog. In the same vein as the last entry, I wanted to kind of extend a bit and talk about a recent realization of mine, which is that, well, it's kind of an appeal to particularly those of us who are in like the fields of sensitivity, like spirituality, and self-development, you could say. People who are more sensitive in that way. This is kind of an appeal to you, based on my own kind of experiences thus far. But recently, I mentioned in my a few entries back that I was going on holiday. And I went on holiday, and it was amazing, right? I went to Asia, I went to Japan, then I went to my home city, you could say, of Hong Kong. And I came back, and something changed. Basically, I basically came full circle, and I discovered my kind of core identity, which is a healer, right? I am a healer. A lot of my work thus far has been looking to heal myself, and if you watch any of my videos, aiming to share, how I healed myself with you, so that you can then go and heal yourself. And, in such a world where, it's all about success and that kind of thing, hard success, I feel that, a lot of people are miserable, essentially, I feel that, there's a lot of disconnection and misery in society, and this is where I come in, and so I made that discovery. But anyway, from that discovery, I realized something, which is related to my previous entry, which is that, again, like I just explained in the previous entry, I talked about how many people, they give the impression that they're happy. They give you a lot of evidence as to, pointing towards the fact that they're happy, but then perhaps deep down they're not actually happy, right? Essentially, there's a very subtle quality to existence. So I also mentioned the axes of perception in the previous entry, where what something isn't necessarily linked to what it means, and so how someone appears on the surface may not actually be what their subjective experience is like, right? And the way that the world works makes it such that it tends to be that a lot of people who appear to be happy aren't actually happy, right? And a lot of people who are actually happy may not necessarily seem that happy, right? And as you may know if you watch my videos, but my kind of central thing, my goal for myself in life, and I guess, as an extension of that, the message that I have to present in these videos, is how to love authentically, right? Because the reason why I did the previous entry was it's you can have this academic discussion on what love and happiness are, right? But ultimately, what's that going to achieve, right? Again, you can keep pursuing that kind of a thing, but is it actually going to make you happy? Isn't the whole point of trying to define love and happiness? I guess the extension to the previous entry would be it's not wrong to question like, and to try and define love and happiness. But you got to realize that the goal of thinking about love and happiness is actually to attain love and happiness, right? Is to experience more of it, and to learn how to like, to learn to like resonate with it, right? And to truly resonate with love and happiness, you must be willing to be real with yourself, right? Which involves like admitting to yourself that you don't feel happy. You know, admitting to yourself ultimately that like all of the evidence that I have, you know, of being happy and like and having a lot of love in my life is all false. It's all a lie, right? Because like this is the reality. This was the reality for me. You know, I did this for my whole life up until now, up to this point. You know, like it became worse when I went onto a spiritual journey in a way, because like my kind of self-hypnosis became like even more like neurotic. It became even more like dense and convoluted, because I was like, okay, I know like why existence is this way now. I know kind of like all of these universal principles. You know, therefore like I must be happy. You know, I must be happy. Like that's the ultimate evidence of happiness, isn't it? That like I understand what enlightenment is. I understand like that this is a multidimensional universe or existence. You know, I understand the kind of dynamics between oneness and duality, right? I understand all of these like awesome things that give like so much clarity over like life, you know, in a mechanical sense, you know, and in an abstract conceptual sense. So I must be happy. That's the ultimate evidence, right? Haha. If you go down this path like I did, then like you'll quickly realize, like, you know, well, you won't realize anything. Like you'll get fucking depressed. Right? You'll just hit another point of like, you know, this pit. You know, you'll have another dark night of the soul because you're like, I don't get it. Like, I understand everything now. Why aren't I happy? Why? And if you keep going on this journey, you'll learn more and more to tap into your sensitivity, right? So, like I mentioned, a lot of us, really, the problem is that a lot of us come into this existence, particularly in the West, and come into this discipline of, you know, spirituality, self-help, you know, with a very kind of abstract kind of a paradigm, right? Because, you know, particularly in the Western world, like, you know, our society is very abstract. You know, it's very much based on like definitions and procedures and structure. You know, protocol. You know, and so like our first attempt to try to improve our lives is very like abstract. You know, it's like what tools and techniques and concepts must I put on, and perspectives must I try on to make myself like feel better and to be happy and to love, right? How can I define love and happiness? You know, and then once I defined it, then I can get more of it, right? But like, fuck's sake. Yeah. So, 1 second. Yeah, so you kind of you tap into your sensitivity, and you know it's like you eventually learn the importance of like your emotional problems, right? You learn that like the reason why you're not happy is because you have a lot of emotional problems, right? So then you start to delve into the emotional stuff, right? Tapping into your sensitivity, My articulation of it is going in the direction of your joy, and then going in the direction of your pain. Trying to absolve, or make sense of your pain and to integrate it, to integrate your ego, shadow work, inner child work, emotional healing, all of this stuff, right? And slowly, you become more and more in tune with your feeling, right? Slowly, bit by bit, you start to realize more and more how important your feeling is, how important your sensation is to do with your life. Because we were all brought up very abstract, right? We've been through school, we learned through school that ultimately you have to have a lot of knowledge. You have to have a lot of knowledge to be happy in life, to succeed in life. And it took us away from our bodies, essentially, our feeling, in place of regimentation and protocol and stuff like that. But slowly you realize that, okay, as your energetic sensitivity increases and you're able to experience more of yourself, more love, more happiness, but also more pain and more fear, you realize that you then have a choice. Through your kind of deepening of your energetic sensitivity, that you have the capacity to feel positive, very, very positive, and also very, very, very negative. You can feel earth-shattering love for existence. You can experience fucking hatred, pitch black anger towards everything in life, because life fucking sucks, right? You have that expanded bandwidth of feeling available to you. And so you learn through this expanding bandwidth, your resistance towards these emotional states, to emotionality itself, reduces, and you then have choice, right? You now know through the deepening of your energetic sensitivity and the releasing of your resistance towards emotionality. You're no longer afraid of the scary emotions that exist within you, the fact that you are emotionally insecure, unstable, that no longer scares you. You've done all of the thinking through and whatever, and you learn that you have a choice. You can focus wherever you want to focus, because you've released resistance to everything. That's when you find true happiness and love. And true happiness and love, contrary to, like I explained in the previous entry, to the common belief that, true love and happiness is without fear and pain. No. True love and happiness is in spite of pain and fear. If anything, true love and happiness is inclusive of fear and pain. So this is the interesting thing that I discovered, that I thought I'd share with you. The people who seem to be happy, i.e. the people who haven't been through the pain, who haven't done any emotional work on themselves, the average person in society, are actually mired in fear and pain and low vibration, as they say. Right? I don't want to be like that anymore. Rather, I want to be the person who loves and resonates with joy to such an extent that he has no resistance towards delving to, towards letting himself being swept up by fear and pain. Do you see that? I will not now wear the mask of happiness to mask my fear and pain. So I will not mask my fear and pain with love and happiness. Rather, I will accept fear and pain in the name of love and happiness. Do you see that? It may take a bit of processing that, right? But the kind of crux of it is, don't be Don't put on a mask. Like, realize when you're putting on a mask of happiness and love because you're unhappy, right? And get to a place of energetic sensitivity where you have explored all aspects of yourself. You no longer resist them. They could happen at any moment, and that's fine by you. One moment you could be fucking over the moon. The next you could be like ready to like stab yourself, or like cut yourself, or stab someone else, you know, or like shivering under your covers, like about to piss yourself. You know, I'm just using those graphic examples as illustration here, but like all of that shit could happen, but you're not afraid anymore, so you have no resistance towards those things. And at that point, it can be said that you are willing to completely own and assimilate into your fear and pain. You are fear. You, instead of like it's the irony, right, of someone who's trying to get away from fear and pain by pretending to be like, you know, happy and full of love. But the person who is truly loving, who is truly happy, is fearful and like he taps into his fear and pain because he is loving. So the thing that the average person tries to run away from, you could say enlightened person, or really just the person who has emotional mastery. Really, that's one way of putting it. He adopts the very thing that the other person is trying to hide as a sign that he is happy. So like, you know, so you have this disconnect, right? The people who are happy, are they really happy, or are they trying to mask some kind of like massive insecurity and fear, right? And the people who are like who seem like angry and miserable, are they actually doing that because they realize that they are inherently loving and happy? And the fact that they tap into their fear and pain and let it out into the world, they can control it, but like they can, you know, they can like be resourceful about it. You know, they're not going to like go and kill someone, but like they're not resistant towards like just letting that show a bit, because they know that that is the path to love. Love and happiness is attained through the acceptance of everything, right? Even fear and pain. So like this is a bit like difficult to explain, and like if you're not someone who's on the same kind of level of me, like I guess like, that's kind of like a humble brag or something. Or like I don't even know if it's humble, but like, you know, if you're an energetic sensitive being, like if you're a healer or like, you know, some kind of spiritual person, then like this might resonate with you, right? You know, if you're on the same kind of thing as me, you might already know this, to be fair. You might be like, oh yeah, okay, I know that, right? But even then, you wouldn't be the kind of person who would like comment or anything, because you'd have no resistance to that, right? The key to finding love and happiness is releasing resistance. And resistance here, the kind of resistance I'm referring to is what I newly coined secondary resistance, or second tier resistance, right? Resistance, as you know, is anything that like makes you like brace yourself and trying to defend yourself, and like either like physically or like, you know, mentally, you know, like when you're exchanging with someone, like mentally. So, and like resistance can be primary resistance, which is like a direct fear against something, like you know, a direct, like, you know, like, oh, I don't want to say this because it might anger this person and I'm afraid of that. Or like, I don't want to eat this because if I eat it, I will feel guilty because it's fattening and I don't want to be unhealthy. That's primary resistance. Secondary resistance is, I explained it in previous entries as resistance of your resistance. So secondary resistance is the resistance that you feel towards the resistance it's the judgment towards your primary resistance, basically. So, you know, I don't want to anger this person because I'm scared, and I am ashamed of the fact that I'm scared. You know, I don't want to eat this food because it will make me feel guilty, and I hate myself when I feel guilty. Do you see? It's the beating yourself up part. It's the judgment of the natural resistance that arises from life, right? And so, life is chaotic, right? Like we all have these ideals, and we all want to think that, we all this is how I ideally want my day to go. This is how I ideally want my career to go. This is how I want my relationships to go, my life to go. But life is never ideal. We should all know this. Sometimes you make decisions and it's right. Sometimes you make a decision and it's wrong. Sometimes you don't even have the opportunity to make a decision. It's made for you, and it's wrong. But it could also be right, right? And you can't fucking control that. And a trick, the key is to. Elliot Holst has a saying, I guess, that pretty much some illustrates this, which is, successful people don't make the right decisions. Successful people make decisions right. So whatever decision happens, whether there is a decision or not, they move forwards. And to move, and in order to move forwards, you have to release resistance. You have to learn to be soft with yourself, essentially. That's how I explain it. I haven't heard many people explain it in that way, but I think it's ultimately the best way. I think it's ultimately how you do this. This is how you release resistance to life and start to allow life and start to enjoy life and start to resonate more with love and fear. With love, with love and happiness, right? So, loads of ideas I'm chucking at you. I guess I haven't explained it in the most coherent way, but I guess this is the crux. Obviously, there'll be more extensions as time goes by. I'll discover more things, but this is it. So think about that. Are you being happy? Are you trying to force yourself to be happy, but you're actually sad? And it's okay if that's the case. It's okay if that's the case. That's fucking 99% of people in this world do that, because that's all they've known, right? It takes you have to be really lucky, to have done something like I have done. Not only do you have to go through a period of pain in your life, you also need to have the right kind of influences. I happen to have the right kind of influences come into my life at the right time. You have to kind of have the right kind of, to do it yourself. You have to have the right kind of personality, the right kind of character traits, the right kind of talents and skills, right? And I just happen to have those, right? But it's okay if you do that, but treat this as kind of a guidepost, right? This is the thing. Again, just to summarize before I wrap this up, notice both in yourself, primarily in yourself, but also in other people. When you are merely using a mask of happiness to disguise the kind of pain and frustration and anger and all of the shit that you have inside. You know this by the fact that you don't, someone who is actually happy, someone who is actually loving, they feel like crying half the time. That's how you tell. You feel like crying out of joy all the time. You feel this feeling welling up in your chest. Everyone fucking remembers the last time they cried out of happiness. It's your whole body is charged with this energy. Is and your breathing increases. What it's like to be truly happy. Right? And if you don't feel that way, again, it's not wrong. It's just a sign that your happiness is not authentic, right? That's just an objective statement. And what you want to head towards is to develop more and more of that kind of tender feeling, because that's the only signal of love and happiness, right? And if you dedicate yourself to this journey. You know, you'll go through all of the landmarks that I've laid out, such as, you know, tapping into your sensitivity, going in the direction of your joy, going in the direction of your pain. You know, keep doing that. You know, that, and ultimately everything else I've explained, you know, really ties into just like that central kind of idea of tapping into your sensitivity, right? So anyway, that was the message I had to give this entry. I kind of feel a bit rusty because like I haven't done these entries for a while, but like, and a lot of it has happened, you know, me going on holiday and everything. But like, I hope it's been okay. I hope this entry has been insightful as always, and I will catch you in the next entry. Peace out, guys. Bye.